Greetings. Welcome back to the Grumpy Gardener's Medicine Show. Today it's food for thought. I would like to talk about some foods and supplements that we can take that help enhance our ability to think. This is particularly focused towards older people whose memory begins to decline and maybe, onset of Alzheimer's and such. Well, the tenant. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, that's right, getting old. I was reading an article in AARP, the American Association of Retired People. They have all kinds of stuff in there, and we're talking about supplements that increase mental activity. One of them they brought up, which is very common, it's the Omega3 supplements. Now, these are particularly the EPA and the DHA supplements from fish oil. I do find it interesting that, in a 21st century, we're talking about taking these fish oil supplements, these omega-3s, because we say that they're good for your thinking, for your brain power. The brain definitely uses these chemicals in large amounts, so they are important. But I do find it extraordinary that science has shown that is the case, yet if you go back into, let's call it folk wisdom, I don't know how many people, when I felt, oh, I can't think today, they say, eat some fish, it's brain food. They've said this my entire life. I don't know how far back that goes. Perhaps for a long time, I don't know. We apparently intuitively knew that certain fish, at least, were good for our mental process. That's kind of extraordinary. But I firmly believe that the body tells us things subconsciously that we consciously don't really realize when we're taking something in. We begin to crave something, or we need something, and the body seems to know these things. At least mine does. If you listen, it's very quiet. These omega-3s, they are essential for brain activity, but specialists now are saying that if you're going to start taking these things and expect a result, it takes about 2.5 years to build up enough of this stuff in your brain to be able to actually make a difference. And so, if you're looking for a quick fix, this is not it. Now, they're essential for brain health, and you need these things, and you can take them as supplements, but don't expect an overnight sensation. Otherwise, my suggestion is eat plenty of fish all the time that contains these materials. Most of the fairly oily fish, like mackerel, salmon, sardines, anchovies, these are all really good, but there are others. There are a number of fish that contain this material. So just putting it into your diet, which is always my point, rather than trying to pop pills and see if you can, get something out of it. Eat it. Eat those fish. Eat those fish. And support clean water and a good environment and sensible fishing laws, too, so that there will be a sustainable harvest. Otherwise, we're going to end up with only farmed fish, and that's another problem. Specialists are saying it's going to take you about 900 milligrams of DHA per day over 2.5 years to start to notice a real difference. Then there's the nootropics, what we call smart drugs. One of the more common ones we see around today, there's advertisements on TV for something called Prevagen. They claim it's made of jellyfish. Now, I know the first time I saw that ad, I went, holy smoke, wow, jellyfish. It was many years back. I was in a Vietnamese restaurant, and Ellen, for some reason, decided she wanted to order a jellyfish salad, which is a Vietnamese specialty. Now, the salad, I had never eaten jellyfish in my life. So our jellyfish salad was pretty much fried strips of jellyfish that had piles of an herb. It's a polygonum or a smartweed. In Vietnam, it's called rau ram. English, we call it Vietnamese coriander. Now, it was included with it, so our salad was rau ram with fried jellyfish. Never had such a thing. We ate the leaves, ate the jellyfish, and so on. It was pretty good. It sounded strange to me, but it tasted all right. It was about 30 minutes went by, and we were at the table, still chatting. We'd finished the main meal. when all of a sudden both of us realized we felt like we drank 3 cups of double espresso. I mean, I was elevated. Yeah, talking rapidly, you know, everything was going on real fast. We kind of both looked at each other, pulled a reality check. I said, "Hey, are you stimulated, Ellen?" She says, "Yeah, I am." And so it was a mystery at that point. I had thought, maybe, being a horticulturalist, that all of this came from the plant, from the ram, and there could have been some effect, because one thing affects another. And I actually started growing it in my garden and tried it, and did not get the jellyfish salad effect from it. And now I see commercials for Prevagen on the TV where they're talking about extracts of jellyfish that increase your mental ability. And so 2 and 2 put together, and I guess it was the jellyfish in the salad that caused this effect. Although medical doctors are refuting that this stuff will actually work for you. So on the other hand, pharmaceutical companies are complaining that if you take Prevagen, it may have interaction effects with other drugs they sell you. And so my guess is if the jellyfish interacts with pharmaceutical drugs, it must be doing something. And my experience with jellyfish is it did for me. I don't know if I'd buy it as a supplement, but next time you're at a Vietnamese restaurant, try ordering a jellyfish salad. It's good for your thoughts. Well, the rain broke out. I had to change locations, get underneath cover here, and I no longer need my sunglasses today. So I'm down to reading glasses. Anyway, so onward with foods for thought. Another food that was listed in the article by AARP was cacao or cocoa. The cacao flavanols. They say that about 900 milligrams of cacao powder or cocoa powder, say in your coffee or so, if taken daily for 3 months, can improve brain function in people that are 60 years old. When tested, after 3 months of consuming cacao every day, we find that 60-year-olds will undergo the same pattern recognition scores on testing as 30-year-olds. And so, chocolate's good for you, folks. Eat more of it. See, we always knew this. Tea's good for you, coffee's good for you, and so's chocolate. Anything that's, you know, that is that tasty, how can it be bad? Seriously, you know. I don't think nature does that to us. There are very few deadly toxins and things that are really evil that taste as good as chocolate. So. And of course, here in Hawaii, cacao is a garden crop. We grow it right here, and we make our own cocoa on site. And so if you are living in a tropical location, like Hawaii, for instance, in the U.S., and maybe even South Florida, you can give a shot at raising your own cacao. It's actually pretty simple. Processing is not too hard. We do it, you know, once a year, put up a batch, and Ellen dumps it in her coffee all the time. I don't use it much, but I don't seem to have any problem with brain function anyway. Maybe I should, you know. Of course, I haven't raced against 30-year-olds in pattern recognition lately, so what do I know? And we have plenty of cacao plants here in the Green Garden Guys Nursery if there's anybody interested. Whoa, here comes that good rain. Boy, am I glad I moved. I'm told by some of you that you enjoy the sound of it, so I guess we'll just let it come down, huh? I like it. So, a couple episodes back, we were talking about turmeric. And I'm going to continue with turmeric today. That's going to be a cross focus. We've already discussed it some, and now it turns out that according to AARP's article, that there has been some pretty good conclusive scientific studies showing that in India, where a lot of this is eaten in the form of curry every day, people who eat it over long term have far less incidence of Alzheimer's. So it's well known as an anti-inflammatory, and that's a great reason for consuming turmeric daily. But apparently it will also help keep you from going into aged memory decline. Ooh, is that nice, huh? Yeah, they say a study in adults from 51 to 84 that 80 or 90 milligrams of curcumin, which is the active ingredient in the turmeric, twice a day for 18 months, that it improved memory and attention. It also showed in PET scans better brain scans. So the brains were actually healing or recovering. They were improving under the scans after people took 90 milligrams of this stuff for about 18 months. Now they say in India that because it is eaten daily, that it's absorbed into the body and the brain over a lifetime. And so a lifetime of just eating this steadily in your diet will generally keep your brain from declining. I guess, inflammation is a big deal, and so it may have something to do with inflammation of brain tissue. I'm not certain. They did not say exactly why this happened, but they could clearly see it was occurring. And so, again, we're back to my suggestion. You can take the supplements, and there are, you can get curcumin in capsules and so on. That's the way you want to go. I know the study indicated about how, well, most of us can't stand eating curry every day, and yeah, I agree. I was born in Chicago. We grew up on hot dogs and Italian beefs and stuff. Curry is not really the deep part of my diet. And so when I started experimenting with growing and eating my own turmeric, I was worried that everything was going to taste like curry too. But what I found out is that fresh garden-grown turmeric can be added to almost any recipe. It doesn't seem to disturb most flavors. In some cases it enhances them, and it definitely enhances color, which, appeal and color on food. For instance, if your eggs look a little pale, when you cook turmeric in there with the eggs, whoa, they don't look pale at all. They're really gorgeous. I eat turmeric in sweet potato pancakes a lot. That's a very common way that I consume it in the morning. But I find I can put it into almost anything. I haven't run across something yet. It kind of helps if the food is a little stronger flavored, maybe. Might help some, but really it doesn't jump out at you when you use it in just reasonable quantities all the time. Tacos, try putting it in your tacos. Cook it in there with the chicken or the fish or whatever you're having in a taco. Works out just great. There's so many ways in non-Indian style food you can eat this every day. And I guess it's good for you, folks. That's what they're saying. Not only for the body, for inflammation, but it's also going to work for the brain too. That's a good double whammy. And otherwise, then, continuing on about turmeric, I was planting it here the other day, and while going through the nursery, I happened to notice that there's irregularity with growing turmeric. I found that sometimes when you plant the roots, they will just sit and sit and sit and sit, and they just don't do anything. Maybe if I was in a warmer part of the island, they would respond more positively to the heat. We're a little cool up here. But at least here in Mountain View, they are erratic as all get out. One plant will come up, the next one doesn't, and so on. And also, you must watch out for slugs. The slugs love to eat the little shoots, and if you're in California, then it's the California brown snails. But the mollusks in general seem to gobble the stuff. They know it's good. Here, for instance, I'm holding up a turmeric plant. Another one there that was grown last year. I picked these roots up at the Maku'u Farmers Market. A lady was selling organic turmeric, and she had a whole big basket full of it, and some of the roots were beginning to bud up and sprout. And so I bought all the slightly sprouted roots. That seems to help. When you get the root that's been forced by sitting for a while out of the ground to begin to bud up, that seems to get them going, and they did take off real nice. They were on the table, and what I didn't sell last year is still here with me. I see they've both pushed real nice tops, looking great, right out of the roots here. But right in the same flat, I got this. Now this one right here, you can see if you look closely, is a little green sprout coming up. That little green sprout was sawed off by a slug that found it. If I hadn't spotted this and got rid of the slugs, it might have been eaten alive without growing. That happens Slugs can't feed on something so intensely that it will never get started. There's also another shoot coming up right over there that's a little bit green. But right next to it here, I have another root that is perfectly hardy, it's healthy, there's nothing wrong with it at all. It hardly has a green spot coming on top. This one, for whatever reason, isn't planning to sprout yet. And I have a few others over there like that. So if you're growing turmeric, I suggest it's the usual one for the gardener, one for the bugs, one for the weather rule, that if you want one plant, you're going to plant 3, because you may end up in the same situation as I have here, where some of the roots are going now and some of the roots are not going right now. I'm sure they will all eventually take off, but they're a little bit erratic, and I haven't quite figured out why that is. They have their own little individual turmeric root personalities, I guess. So, it's raining out there. I'm not going to go out and do any planting today. We'll just talk about the turmeric roots. And thanks for watching The Medicine Show. I'm feeling absolutely grumpy today. And so you all have a wonderful day, and I hope you feel better.